In this tutorial video, I would like to give you a brief overview of the main functions of the Structured Product Factory. When you start the application, you will see this product selection tree on the left-hand side. You can click on one of the product templates and the payoff chart of the product will show on the right-hand side. And you'll basically see the payoff at maturity, the payoff now, and the payoff on the underlying. And the shaded area in between is the time value of the product. Now, the products are grouped into the main product categories: capital protection, yield enhancement, participation, and leverage. If you go to the plot menu in the middle, you'll see you can select different types of plots. Going from top to bottom, you can plot the payoff of the product, which is the market value of the product as a function of the underlying asset price. You can plot the profit and loss of the product, the return on investment in percent, and then there are three risk plots. The first one shows the simulated distribution of returns in absolute values, so in dollar values or euro values. You can also look at the simulated returns in percentage, again, based on a historical simulation. And then there is the leverage plot, which shows how sensitive the product value changes with respect to changes in the underlying. For all these plots, there is an interesting function down here, which is the time function. Basically, I can change the time from today going to the future and see how the payoff changes over time. And you see, the more I go to maturity, the closer the payoff goes to the payoff at maturity. And I can do that for any type of these charts. For example, I can take the leverage chart, go to maturity, and I see how the sensitivity of the product changes over time. Same with the risk chart. I can look at the distribution of returns and go towards maturity. What is really interesting here is when you look at maturity, there are two spikes in the distribution, so two discrete probabilities in the distribution. Why is that? Because at maturity, the payoff has a floor and a cap, which is defined by two different strikes. And this floor and cap appears as discrete probability spikes in the distribution. What you also see in this risk chart is the probability estimates in these labels here. So different areas have probabilities which are estimated with these labels. For example, the simulated probability of staying on the floor level here is 48%. And here you see the probability of hitting the cap level. And here's the probability of staying in between. Now this risk plot can be fine-tuned a bit with this function here. So when I click here, I can change the value risk holding period, the granularity of this histogram. I can show or hide the strike and barrier levels. I can show or hide the distribution. I can show or hide the probability labels. And I can show or hide this statistical function here. And I can hide the valued risk plots. I can also reduce the opacity of the histogram if I just want to show this estimated probability distribution. It looks like this. So I can fine-tune the plot quite a bit. Now, if I want to drill down to see more details about this particular product, I can click on the Select Template function. And here on the left-hand side, I see all the input parameters into this specific product, which I can change. I see the market price parameters, which I can change, for example, interest rates and volatility. And I see the output parameters here, like the market value or the value at risk. Now, for example, I can change the participation of this product. And I see the probability plot changes immediately. Or I can change the cap level of the product. And of course, I can do the same In the payoff chart, I go to the payoff chart. I can play around with the cap level. I can play around with the participation level, and I see all the parameters changing. Now, what is also interesting is that each product is simulated through a replicating portfolio, which you find here. So here you see the replicating portfolio that replicates this payoff, which consists of a 0 bond and 2 call options. And down here, I have the structuring rules. So basically rules that define the different parameters of each of these positions. So the strike level, the size of the position, and so on. And I can change the replicating portfolio and the structuring rule using these functions here. Clearly, this requires a bit of technical expertise, and if you would like to know more about this, I advise you to read the manual of the Structured Product Factory, which you can find by clicking on the Get Help button. If you would like to get back to the initial window, just click on this button here, and it takes you back to the initial window. Now, this concludes the introductory video. To know more about this Structured Product Factory, please read the manual. As I said, you click here to see the manual. I hope you enjoyed this introduction, and goodbye.